Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode of the London is Blue podcast, your home for all things Chelsea FC. Nick, Dan, and myself cover all the match reviews from the latest Chelsea matches. We cover the team news and even throw you some exclusive interviews. Thank you already for being an awesome listener. And you know what? Let's jump right in. And we are back, Chelsea fans. Part 2 of the London is Blue podcast this week. If you missed part 1, go back. It was all about the Crystal Palace review, where Mike said he hated Cesc Fabregas. And joining me on this podcast is Mike, public Fabregas hater.
Yeah, oh, man. This is horseshit.
So obviously part 1 was fun. Definitely go back and listen to it. I may have embellished a little bit of what Mike said, but you won't know until you go listen to it, Dan. Also joining me, my man, what is up?
Not too much. I definitely am not slating Cesc Fabregas like Mike is. And nice. I believe the reason we were blocked from following Cesc Fabregas on Instagram clearly is Mike's hatred for him.
I think it has to do with Nick not showing up. So I think it's all his fault, right?
I like it. You were piled on and you deflected to the guy who can't defend himself. That's smart.
And has no beard, so.
It's also kicking him while he's down. Anyways, part 2 is all about your social media questions, everyone. So if you want to get involved, the best way is to support us on Patreon. Even if it's $1 a month, you get your questions at the top of the queue every single week. Otherwise, you can always send them in. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can even email us. And if you're a friend of the pod or you're one of our direct friends, you can even text us as well. But before we kick it off, Mike, Dan, I'm going to kick it to you. I did just plug all of our social media, so maybe just remind them that we're going to London, and it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I think we probably could muscle a extra spot or two out, but it is basically almost sold out. Our trip to London, we're going to see Crystal Palace, we're going to see Southampton, we're going to see Chelsea, and we're going to have a wonderful time in the post-Christmas bliss heading into the new year. Right in London, SW6, Stamford Bridge with our friends at XL Tours. It's going to be an absolute blast. If you're looking and you've been hesitating, it's probably the do or die time if you want to be involved in that trip. Hit us up or just go directly to XL Tours, because we are nearing the spot of no return where we will have to say no to new signups, and we would hate to do that if 1 or 2 more people are interested out there. So yeah, don't delay. If you have been delaying, that's a bad idea. Bad strategy, Brandon. Bad strategy.
Look, it's the perfect Christmas gift idea, so get it on your friends and family's radar right away. They could easily take a huge chunk of the cost out of that trip for you, whether it's the flight or part of the trip. So definitely don't delay. We do have a few spots left. But anyways, let's go to the social media questions. First one, speaking of going to London, Derek, he jumped at the chance for our first ever trip, and we are forever grateful for you, Derek. So here it is. He says that he has enjoyed the discussion of what it might take to make Chelsea title contenders this season. He says he's interested in our thoughts on a related, if less fun question. So if there aren't any starting level signings available this January and the current squad continues to play at about the same level they have so far, how would you rate Chelsea's chances at a top 4 finish, Mike?
I mean, we're sitting in second right now. I think we have a pretty good chance, unless, luck starts going against us and we start losing matches, and either, United pulls it together or Arsenal goes on a fantastic run. But I still think we could. I still think we have the players and the mentality to finish top 4.
Yeah, if you look at 538 right now, which is a wonderful statistics-based blog, they have a club soccer predictions page for the different leagues, and they won for Premier League, and currently they give us a 82% chance, or probability rather, of qualifying in the top 4 for a Champions League spot right now, which seems a little light considering that they give Liverpool a 94% chance. So we may have to have them recheck some of the math there.
It seems a little bit high, 82% chance.
Well, if you take our current form, undefeated. I mean, you would have to essentially draw out, to say, hey, we're still undefeated. I'm like, yeah, but you have 28 draws. I mean, that's an issue. I would be confident if you told me I had to keep this squad throughout the rest of the season, knowing that there'll probably be some upgrades. I mean, Spurs might actually buy a player. You would assume that City will at least look to build, as they always do. Liverpool will probably find a way to drop 50 million on a player. So I think that as it stands, it's hard not to have confidence. Chelsea are finding new ways to score. Multiple players are stepping up. We're starting to see a great side of Ross Barkley. Pedro's healthy again. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think that the striker is still the big concern or the question mark. But if that is starting to get resolved as well, yeah, I mean, you'd be hard bent to not feel at least somewhat confident that we could finish top 4. So yeah, I don't know. Let us know what you think on social media, as always, everyone. But Derek, thank you. So the next one, this one is heavy, from a man Brett on Patreon. Says, it kills me to write this, but N'Golo doesn't look himself. I certainly won't be the one calling for his spot, but does it make more sense to play a Ruben in that role against certain opposition? I'm not sure if Sarri's system will allow for N'Golo to be in his preferred area on the pitch. This is one of the very few concerns I have surrounding the club right now, and something I think we need to figure out. It's like having a Ferrari with a Honda engine underneath the hood. What are we doing with Kante? Dan, we've talked about it, I think, in different aspects. We've always said Kante right? We've always put another name, and we've always been like, no, why would you not have World Cup winner N'Golo Kante in your team if you can? But I think Brett frames it just a little bit different in saying, are we misusing him? Do you literally, I don't know. I did think it was funny. He's like, well, N'Golo's not in his preferred area on the pitch. Okay, you put N'Golo on the pitch, right? We really were playing a 3-3-3 N'Golo Kante, right? I mean, that's what is happening.
Oh boy. Well, excellent question. First off, have to give the gold star to that question. Yeah, I think N'Golo looks a little lost in this system, particularly where Jorginho is the one that's supposed to be the deepest lying player, right? So Kante has to be a little bit further forward in the system. He's definitely learning the system. He's definitely growing, I think, at some of his abilities. It's not always perfect. Matt Law, who's been on our show before from the Telegraph, actually
name
wrote,
drop.
a little name drop. Talked about that in his most recent article about how there's a lot of learning on the job for a lot of players, but most specifically right now, it's N'Golo Kante who is trying to master this new role. I think some of the distribution that he has from a passing perspective, and then how quickly he doesn't release it, is a real detriment right now to how quickly this side can move at times. And that's not to take away from what he brings to winning the ball back and disrupting play. He does that exceptionally well. But there's an element to his game that's missing right now, Mike. And I think that that's where you see people asking to see, like, well, what if we had Kovacic, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and Barkley out at the same time, or if we had, or a combination of those two with Jorginho, or having Barkley and Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho out, and then seeing what that would be able to accomplish. So I think we will continue to see some level of fluctuation in the midfield as it relates to now in the end of the transfer window in January, just to kind of see what we can do, Mike. But I think Kante is a little lost right now, and that's not to say that other players aren't, but I think it's, he is the World Cup winner, but he's not perfect.
Yeah, I don't know if lost is necessarily the right way to put it. I think that we have, a seek and destroy missile that has nothing to shoot at. I mean, we had 74% possession in this match. So 3/4 of the time, N'Golo Kante has to figure out what to do rather than, seeking that ball and taking it away. And I think this is just going to lead to personal growth and development for him as a player. I don't think that, if you look at how quickly he adapted, like where he is now and where he was just a few years ago, I think he definitely has it well within himself. I think it's just, just a matter of just trying to figure out what he needs to do. So I I don't know. It's that tough thing in which if we bench him and we lose, then there's issues. And, if you do something insane and, you offer him to PSG for, multiple players or something like that, you're going to, it's blasphemy, right? So it's that it's kind of a bit of that Murata problem, right? We should kind of be looking at another replacement striker maybe for Giroud or, a true backup. And yet it's like we have these weird constraints in which, Sarri has a lot to deal with managing the players in that position right now.
Yeah, this is a sensitive subject that I'm going to tiptoe around yet again, but...
Bravo, Brandon. Bravo.
Dan hates N'Golo Kante. That's what
I mean, I think the possession stat is more interesting, right? Like, he's there to win back possession. If you have the overwhelming amount of possession, you're right. You're not... It's a shitty situation to be in. There's got to be a way for him to find a role in that team. You would hope. So well,
and to be fair, like look what Sarri has done with like Koulibaly. I think is a great example. Like you see gifs of Koulibaly now under Ancelotti, and what they're continuing to do at Napoli, and playing some pretty impressive 4-4-2 football. Like he coaches up players. So like the opportunity for N'Golo Kante to continue to improve and become better as a player is not out of the realm of possibility. So again, like we're only, a couple months into this project still, we all need to like the overreaction to like, we talk about a singular game. And I think the problem is when you talk about a singular game, it's all about the narrative structure of that game. And what gets lost is what's happened the 10 games prior to this and what still could happen over the next, 20, 7 Premier League games, multiple Europa League games, multiple Carabao Cup and, FA Cup games. Like there's still so much to be written. So to just want to segment the narrative into one conversation about one match is really tough to not overreact.
I gotta agree with you there. I mean, we're talking about 27 goals and 11 matches and second in the table, and we won 3-1. So who cares? Who cares what if Conte's not having the best game ever, right? We're winning. So what is it? If we drew 1-1, then maybe we would need to talk about is Kante really doing what he needs to be doing? But we won 3-1. So like, are we at a point where we're just slicing hairs and saying like, well, we really should have won this match 6-1 because City wins their matches 6-1. Who cares? We're only 6 goals behind them, and we're just a few months into the Sarri project. So I think sometimes people are spending too much time worrying about what Maurizio Sarri should be doing when the man is doing nothing but winning us matches and, not losing. So I think it kind of goes into what you were saying previously of sit back, get your popcorn and enjoy what we're doing, and don't worry about the next match or who's playing where, because it's working. Right?
I'm trying to think in my head if Barkley, Kovacic, Jorginho would have been more effective today against a crappy Palace team.
Would you put Barkley on the right or move Kovacic over to the right?
It doesn't matter. They'd interchange. To me, I just think that if you have so much possession and so many chances in the attack, and you know that's going to happen against a team like Palace. I mean, I guess to me, it's almost like he's a safety vest on land.
Yeah, that we play on the right side, so he can't really, he should be sitting below Jorginho, right?
So I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, Man City played Fernandinho, and they let David Silva, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, whoever run off him, and he just sits back and hangs out the whole time. Ours isn't like that. You actually saw Jorginho pressing high amongst the forwards, pressing and trying to get back. But look, all right, this is something we're never going to solve. Again, if you have an amazing theory and a thought on social, please send it to us. So let's continue to move on a little bit. I love this little chat from Travis on Instagram asking about kits. He got hooked up. He's going to be at the Everton match. So my man, have a blast while you're there. We have some friends, some of my personal friends from the Twin Cities Blues that will be there. So look them up on social media, Twin Cities Blues, and connect with them. But he says now that he's going to the game, he just needs to decide the kit he's going to buy. Who do you guys think in this squad is the most likely to become a club legend? Because that's the one I'm buying. I mean, Dan, not only did he just be like, no, I just want, like my favorite players. Like, no. I need you to predict in 50 years when they build another statue from this team, who's it going to be?
Well, I mean, there's a couple ways you can go. You can go most surefire, which is probably Eden Hazard in terms of, overall appearances. I think he's now tied for 5th overall for Chelsea, somewhere in the blue. So, I mean, his legacy has written up to a certain point, and we hope he extends. And so, yeah, that should be a pretty surefire jersey to get. You could get a Gary Cahill. Not the most popular one right now, even though he's just been named captain. He's riding the bench a little
legend,
bit.
Dan. That was the question.
Dude has won everything. He has won everything that you possibly could outside of winning like a World Cup for England. Like,
okay.
I mean, another opportunity to, just have, a winner's name on your back, which is exciting. Has been a captain for the club as well, which not every player can say. You could do a gamble and try to do a long-term one, get like a Kepa. Maybe Kepa becomes the next greatest keeper after like, Petr Cech or Benetti. That could be one. Am I missing something here, Mike? Is there one that we should be targeting that I haven't thought of?
I feel like Nick would be saying Assis Piliqueta.
His puns are going to be worthless in like 3 years. So.
No, to be honest, I have a hunch, and I'm kind of sitting in the same spot because we're going back to London, and it's time to buy kits when you're there. But I'm thinking Ampadu. That kid has real potential. And I think of all the youth, I think Mason Mount has a ton of potential as well. But I think there is something special about Ampadu. And if you're going to take a risk, I mean, it's just a great kid to have. So that's what I would suggest, Travis.
There's no way I'm saying a name. But what I would say that I like about Ampadu, or even the fact that you say Gary Cahill, let's think about this. People look at legends a lot of the time because of their leadership. And I think that if you look at this team and you say Aspi, if you say potentially Kepa, because a goalkeeper is a natural leadership position, you look at JT, who is the surefire next legend of this club. I think you might as well go buy that kit, Travis. I think that is the one key characteristic to me that really stands out is you think of the late Ray Wilkins. I mean, the amount of leadership he had on the field. To me, that's always what I go back to. Or like the all-time great players isn't always the best on the field, but they're the ones that motivate the people around them to achieve greatness. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know. We'll have to see. Same
Brandon,
thing.
give us a name. Give us a name.
Well, I said you should get JT. I mean, that's the only right answer at this day and time.
For an 18-19 kit, you put JT on it.
If his criteria is to have a legend's name on the back, yes. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just answering the question. Let us know what you guys think. I'm open to suggestions. Next one from Twitter at Hamid Bangura1 saying, what is the best starting 11 at this point of the season, and what does Hudson-Odoi need to do to make the game day squads moving forward? Well, I think Ahmed, Moses being ruled out of the roster should immediately bump him up a slot. I think that should happen. The fact that we've seen Ruben play out wide isn't a great sign for Choi, but
correct.
I think that if Sarri has now publicly made that claim, that you would assume that Hudson-Odoi can have essentially a role compared to the non-existent one he's had before.
Yeah, we've had this. I've seen this question a bunch on Instagram with people sending us messages, and I think my take is that it takes time to gain Sarri's trust and to show him that you've learned the system and that you can play within it. I mean, we saw that it took time for both Barkley and RLC to do such. So my hope is that, Hudson-Odoi, who's just a little bit younger and, less polished, is maybe just taking a little bit more time. So my thought is prove, he has a chance every single day to prove himself to, sorry that he can play, and he just needs to do everything possible to fight for it on the practice pitch, and hopefully we'll see the opportunities coming in.
All right. Well, next one up is, from Larry on Facebook saying, why does my cable provider seem to selectively not record my Chelsea matches, Dan?
NBC Gold. It was on NBC Gold today, so that's why your DVR was conspiring against you. Not actually. The robots have not taken over yet. There's just package differences.
Second half went to NBC, but boom.
Yeah, but it probably didn't denote that on the cable description.
Anyways, you're welcome, Larry. Philip saying, no questions, haha. Yet you made it into the script. How about this one? K. Germeza on Instagram. I'm sorry, man, I don't know what that means. He says,
It's his last name.
Sure. Do you think Chelsea has a chance against City, Dan? I'm going to give you a follow-up to the IT question.
In an individual match or in the entire season?
In the league. Let's go head-to-head.
Head-to-head, I think we will probably fall 9 to 11 points behind them in second place.
I would trade home and away in a heartbeat with them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely, take 3 and lose 3 the other way. That's such a positive push moment for us. Ideally, you would like to find ways to slow them down and get 6 over them and, have it be a 12-point swing. But that's not, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen this season.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna do what we did last season and lay down or just suffer continually. Shout out to Constantine. This is my boy from Tacoma who asked a question, but I think we have a good chance, and I don't, unless we really make some outstanding signings in the winter transfer window, I don't think we'll have quite enough to get it over the edge against them, unless they just find some really terrible form. But I think it's going to be close. I think given the summer transfer window, I think we will be, shoulder to shoulder, head to head, back with them on equal ground.
All right. Last one that we've got today. Apologies for being short, but we've got is from Luke saying, for about 92 minutes, it looked like Morata was gaining in much needed self-confidence. When he missed that chip at the end, though, he made a face that looked like the one he makes when he gets subbed off without scoring. How much damage do y'all think that hat-trick miss did to his psyche? I don't think it was the worst. I think that if that was his only chance and he missed it, it would be a lot worse. But I think since he had to, he went for the cheeky chip. He should have put it on the ground and slotted it past Hennessy, but because he was feeling himself and had a lot of confidence, Luke, I'm guessing he went for kind of the audacious attempt, knowing that there was a chance it could fail. So I'm hoping it didn't affect him too terribly. Dan?
I hope it made him angry. I hope it made him angry and that he wants to go score a hat trick in the next game.
He's fragile, though, remember?
Yeah, that's what you keep on saying. He's not living his life as a bubble boy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Mike, is he broken after this?
No, I didn't think his face or reaction was as bad as it has been. I thought it was more of a dope. I should have, could have had it, but I'll get it next time. I'm not worried.
All right. Well, as we look ahead to Chelsea's matches this week, that is right. We are back on the Thursday, Sunday grind, as opposed to our Wednesday, Sunday grind this last week. Chelsea will be heading to Belarus. A shout out to the Twin Cities Blues going to that game. Travel safe, my friends, and enjoy it. I can't wait to see the photos. This is a Europa League match at the Borisov Arena this coming Thursday, November 8th. Huge talking points here. The last time we played Bate, it was a 3-1 win. In case you forgot, it was the Loftus-Cheek show. I hope he can continue said form on Bate. As I look at their form, Mike, it looks like Bate aren't even playing league games right now because their last opponents were Chelsea, PAOK, Vidi, and then Arsenal. So
hey, Brandon, it's probably because that's just the Europa League standings.
Well,
because ours on the right are also Europa League too.
But I don't know. Okay, maybe. Either way, Bate Borisov guys are at the bottom of our group, right? So even if Chelsea's website filtered them out stupidly, I think that, Mike, we're going into this game top of the group, perfect, 3 wins, 9 points, and every single one else is on 3 points each. I mean, this should be show up, take the points, and come home, right?
Amen. And throw in the youth. I think the only question that I have, and it was, my brother had the same question, is if Giroud has muscular issues, who do we put in up top? Because obviously we want to rest Morata for Everton, right? So who's our third striker?
I think you'll go with a small front 3.
Think so?
Yeah. Dan?
Yeah, I like the idea of the small front 3. I think that could be fun. I think it's.
Will Eden even travel?
God, I hope not. I mean,
no.
Let's again, you want to compete across all 4 fronts. Like sometimes you have to make the strategic play, and the strategic play here is let Hazard rest so that we can get a full 90 out of him during the weekend, and really ask a little bit more of Eden Hazard or of. Not of Hazard, but let's ask more of Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Let's ask more of Callum Hudson-Odoi. Let's ask more of Willian, who got a little time off today, and full steam ahead.
Well, my only problem with that is last time we let Eden rest, he was non-existent the next match. I think it was West Ham. So to me, I would take him and play him 20 minutes.
I disagree, but you know what? That's okay. That's what the podcast is for. An opportunity for us to have a conversation around ideas that are great, like mine, and ideas that are not great, like Brendan's.
Look, I just think history shows us that with Eden, the less he plays, he's just not clicking on top form. But, who knows? Could be wrong. I mean, obviously, I would love it if he could sit this one out and then come back, just stick around this weekend and then have an amazing performance. But Everton, the last time we didn't send him, he just didn't really, I don't know, didn't always click. Obviously, Mike, I think we're looking for a lot of changes in this match because, as Dan said, we do play Everton at the weekend in the Premier League again at Stamford Bridge, and it will be on the 11th. Everton, as it stands, as we looked at the table before, they're sitting comfortable in 9th, if you want to call that comfortable for them. They're on 18 points. They've won 4 out of their last 5. I think that they're one of those clubs that Richarlison is on great form. Obviously, Zuma has been doing well there. They're one of those teams that can play really, really well and then have also had some bad results this season.
Yeah, I mean, we get the advantage of having, they have to sit Zuma. And that 40 million for which Charleston is looking pretty damn good right now. Shout out to Louise, who had tried to convince the club to be the ones to buy him this summer. That would have been a great buy, but I don't know. It feels like a trap game to me. I hope that this is just a great situation in which kind of what we've talked about in the past, that Sarri's effectively won the group. He can play some youth who've earned some trust that can take care of by far what's our worst opponent in Europa, so that the rest of our team's ready to take on Everton on the weekend.
Didn't we call Burnley a trap game?
We did.
This is me.
It worked out well.
This is me wiping my hands clean of that one.
What I will say to the issue of form, let's just put this in perspective. They beat Brighton, they beat Crystal Palace, they beat Leicester, they beat Fulham, and they've lost. They lost to Man United and to Arsenal. So they also lost to West Ham a little earlier too. So I think the form that we're giving them is maybe a little exaggerated because they are playing some of the dredges of the Premier League right now.
Well, look, I mean, form is form, but as you mentioned, they don't have a great CV this season, right? They're beating who you'd expect, and they've got a couple of iffy losses on the rap sheet as well. So hopefully you go in, take care of the business, and send them packing, just like we have everyone else that's well, I guess we've had some draws. Anyways, whatever. You know what I mean. We'll take care of business. I
think the one narrative point to this game is, does Ross Barkley start? And if he does, what does he do against Everton? I think that could be a really, really cheeky bet for maybe a Ross Barkley goal plus assist in this game, because I think he's going to want to show up pretty heavy, especially if the mayor of Liverpool and his Twitter account is active at any point during this match.
What a disaster. Yeah, I think that Ross is the kind of guy who's going to want to go and score to prove himself, but then wouldn't celebrate.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this is also a match in which we cannot give Richarlison the opportunities, the defensive errors that we have, in which, he's going to score more than one if we're just, if we fall asleep. So I think it's time to, button up the defense and, be ready to play.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Let's do it. I think that is a very solid preview on your guys' part, so well done. All of you that submitted questions, thank you so much. Again, get on Patreon if you want to get your questions answered every single time. But that is going to wrap us up again for this 2-part special this week. Hopefully, you are getting ready to watch the Bate Borisov match midweek on Thursday. And if you do, tweet at us your predictions. We've been putting them out thanks to Mike. He's been having us do match predictions for scoreline and lineups, and it has been fun, mainly when I get them right. So about once every 10 matches. All right. Well, anyways, guys, thank you again so much for hanging out with me on this Sunday evening. For all of you listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. But that will wrap us up for this week. So until Chelsea take on Everton and take care of business, we'll be back right after that to cover everything. So until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.